つまり私が原因かもしれない。
半ば予想していた。いくら俺でもこれだけ条件が揃えばわかる。むしろ俺が原因じゃなくてホッとした。
お前が
Alright, episode 9 of Mushoku Tensei. What I'm about to say is probably going to rub a lot of you probably the wrong way, and I think that's okay. I think we get it out there and we get it out the way. But I just need a level set with you guys and say, like, this will she, won't she of Sylphie finally just opening up to Rudy and saying, hey, I'm Sylphie after all this time, I think is probably the worst part of this new season of Mushoku Tensei. The fact is, guys, is we're 9 episodes into this season and we're still pussyfooting around the fact that Fitz is Sylphie, and she's in fact going back and forth, you know, and like eventually you hit a point of like no return. Now, it looks, in all honesty, it looks like in episode 10, it looks like she's finally going to word vomit the fact that she is Sylphie. But it's so long-winded. Like this season, or at least this first core of this season, is only 12 episodes. So it means it's going to take the whole effing season for her just to admit to Rudy that she's actually Sylphie, and then we hit the end of the season. So then we have like this big waiting period before we move on to like the next arc with them finally like, you know, being with each other, whatever's going to happen next between him and Sylphie, which, you know, they're going to end up together in some way, shape, or form down the line. You know, he's got these 3 main girls. It's like, it's if you have 2 brain cells, you know, like he's got his 3 mains, right? No matter what, like she's a big part of it. So it's like, okay, we know that this is coming, you know, very next. Like I imagine even for people who are reading the source material, I have to imagine this was a point of contention as well. Like, you know, you have to imagine like, you know, this is kind of annoying to have to read so much to get to this like inevitable point that you can imagine the author is just like, they'll never see it coming. It's like, yeah, we all freaking see it coming. So anyways, I just have to tell you guys up front, like right when the video starts, is like another episode where even the princess, Ariel, was like, yo, you haven't told him yet? Even so, basically, everything that, you know, I guess us anime onlys were thinking like, oh, well, maybe the princess sworn her to secrecy. She can't say anything to anybody. Even though, you know, Ariel knows of Rudius' existence, right? It's like that immediately abolished all of that when the princess was like, yo, you didn't even tell him yet? Like, even she was surprised that this person that Sylphie's in love with, that she didn't, like, the moment she, you know, his face glistened her eyes, that he didn't, that she didn't say something to him. So you have these 2, and then you have the other gray rat dude, right? So they're both surprised, like, yo, you haven't told him yet? What the F are you doing? You know what I mean? And then she's like, yo, I'm gonna leave this to you. It's all up to you, boo. Like, you know, so that, again, abolished everything that was all about like, yo, well, Sylphie was doing this for Ariel or under her instruction or whatever. Like, it abolished all of that the moment that that prince was like, yo, you didn't tell him yet, dude? Like, what the hell is wrong with you, dude? It's the guy you love, right? So anyways, I just had to get that out the way because like that is probably the most frustrating thing. Now, the other part of that frustration I have is one of my big things in anime, and when I watch and I review a freaking butt ton of anime, is if the anime can pull out emotion from you, even if it's anger or hate, it's doing something right. So obviously with me being this invested and this feeling that I have, I think it's evident that, you know, obviously Mushoku Tensei is a masterpiece and nobody can change my mind from that point of view. It is a masterpiece, period. The end. This is just that one pain point that just drives me effing nuts. Okay, so outside of that though, let's move on to the next part, which is Nanahoshi. I loved Rudy's reaction to Nanahoshi, right? Like, all of those feelings of basically being murdered came back to him. Now, although Nanahoshi wasn't the one, it was Orsted to do it, she was there, and she was also the reason he got brought back to life. I can speak, I promise. She's the reason he got brought back to life, so obviously he needs to be thanking her, which, you know, by his actions and the deal they struck, you know, he is doing that. But, like, I love his immediate reaction of just, like, PTSD to, like, the 12th degree, and it hit bro so hard. Like, I mean, he was, like, just, like, profusely sweating from, like, just his memory of this like horrific event that's happened to him. Like, worse than getting in a traffic accident this past life. Like this dude was just like, yo, he passed out. And then he felt like the soft, warm hands and everything ended up being Sylphie caressing him and everything. I was like, yo, Nanahoshi really, like, she doing him like that? I was like, okay, then I see you. So I was like, wow, oh, she really, caressing him, back to life and stuff. And no, actually ended up being Sylphie actually being the one to, be the one there and everything. And then I love the next thing that happened, which was that Nanahoshi and him had this whole entire like conversation, in Japanese and everything, which I thought was really, really cool. And obviously they left Sylphie out of that conversation for a while. She had two specific names, so I'm assuming that the two people, so when Rudy witnessed the accident happen, I'm assuming that maybe she's assuming that there's two other folks that traveled with them in the world as well, which is the reason that she was like, are you one of these two names? Do you recognize these two names? And he was like, no, I don't, and I'm not. So my guess is that Nanahoshi, in also trying to find a way home, is also maybe trying to find her friends, just in case they happen to have transmigrated with her to this world as well, too. That's the other interesting part, is Nanahoshi is in fact that girl that he saw, which I was a little surprised that Rudy didn't mention that. Like, hey, I witnessed, because those things, you have to imagine those two events are cohesive, right? They have something to do with each other. Like, it's either the person that, had Rudy reincarnated, whether it was Man God or somebody else, the person that got Rudy reincarnated, right? You have to imagine that person that maybe Nanahoshi was just like a victim of closeness, like basically like, a range of magic happened, and she happened to get caught up in that, and that's the reason why she transmigrated. Or the opposite is the truth. They were trying to get Nanahoshi here, and Rudy was a victim of closeness. Like, that's just a really far off, like, speculation, but that could be a thing. So I was very taken aback when Rudy didn't actually tell Nanahoshi, this episode, like, hey, I actually, you look exactly like this girl that, I witnessed, and I think you're her, and I'm this big fat dude, you know what I mean? And like, I was just a little taken aback at why he wasn't a little bit more forthright with some information. I do like how he was forthright with the fact of like, yo, I don't want to go home. Like, there's nothing for there. Parents are dead. Family hates me. Like, I hate myself. Like, I am here to stay. And it's understandable of like him not wanting to divulge something with a remnant of the world that he despises, right? Which is Japan in his past life. So it's understandable. I was just a little surprised at him not being more forthright with that information. I don't blame him at all, because again, she's a remnant of Japan, which brings up all of this emotion with him. So I understand why maybe he was a little bit pussyfooting around like some information, being very high level on and not very detailed. In the same respect, she was, not very detailed either. She just kind of gave him like, hey, I was involved in this thing. I transmigrated here. I got transmigrated to the Asura Kingdom, and Orsted found me, and I traveled the world in 1 year. Very interesting that in 1 year they traveled the world through, what do they call it, transportation circles or whatever. So the fact is, we know Rudy's gonna find out a bunch of other magic and stuff. Let me think about what else happened this episode. So I think that's probably the most significant thing that occurred outside of them striking that deal with his unlimited mana capacity and her knowledge. You kind of put these two things together. Makes me wonder if Nanahoshi will ever find another way home. Or like what will end up happening there. Like there's a path for her that involves never finding a way home. But now with Rudy, having that huge mana pool, if he's the last piece to kind of begin experimenting on some of the things, maybe she can't find a way home, but maybe she can find a way to get to some alternate universe, alternate world, or at least just be able to travel the world without having to rely on the pre-existing circles that exist within the world. So very interested to see on what the story has in fold for Nanahoshi, and will she find a way home? And if she does, you imagine that, Rudy be very happy and excited for her. The shit part of it for her is, hey, if all this time has passed in this world, has that also passed in Japan? And you could be you could be returning at any point in time in Japan to where there's a potential that you could be so far off in the future that your family, friends, and everything's gone anyways. Which would really suck. But I'm sure if she does find a way home, that Rudy will send her off with good vibes and stuff like that. So anyways, another component and another character just to make this story even more cohesive and better. And it loops in a whole nother huge chunk of a huge part of the story with Orsted that now we get to kind of experience more. So and also, like, why was she left here at the school, and where's Orsted at, and what exactly happened there? I can't wait to learn more. All right, I'm over 10 minutes, so amazing episode. Really, really loved it. I started off the video with that negative point, and really, like I said, that negative point is still a positive because it evokes emotion in me. It's just one of the things that I wish wasn't so elongated throughout this season was the fact of just Sophie just, I'm Sophie. You know what I mean? I think that's the most annoying thing. But outside of every freaking amazing, 10 out of 10. Even with my points, masterpiece regardless. And even any masterpiece out there, video game, any piece of media, anything, you can always find something that maybe you would have wished was different or changed. Doesn't take away the fact it's a masterpiece. Even the Mona Lisa could have had a better background. All right, I'll leave you on that thought. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll see you in the next one, my friends. Peace.